Shelley, are you there?
I am. How are you doing, Tom?
Doing great, thanks. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those of you who have not yet met Shelley Hitz, Shelley is the best-selling author of more than 30 books, including Self-Publishing Books 101, a step-by-step guide to publishing your book in multiple formats.
And I'm
Shelley is the
actually
founder.
up to 40 books now, so sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy, that's amazing.
I
Uh,
know.
Shelley is the founder of Author Audience Academy and trainingauthors.com, where she teaches authors how to write, self-publish, and market their books. So it's awesome to have you, Shelley.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love talking about these topics, so can talk forever. So it's always fun to be on these shows, and I hope that, everyone just gleans at least one thing from this interview.
Great. So let's start with, your beginning as an author. How did you get started?
I always say, it's called the twists and turns of life when you never expect it. Like, I was one of those people that I never grew up wanting to be an author. Like, a lot of the authors I work with, they've dreamed of being authors and they always wanted to be a writer. That wasn't me, but I grew up and I wanted to be in the medical field. So I practiced as a physical therapist for 12 years. And in 2011, I resigned my job as a physical therapist to go on the road, basically in an RV with my husband, to travel and speak. And I published my first book in 2008, more to have as a resource for my speaking than anything else. And in 2011, we rented our house, we took off in an RV, and we were going to quit my job. And all of a sudden, my husband had been speaking full-time professionally for 5 or 6 years. And all of a sudden, all the speaking engagements stopped. And I'd quit my job. We needed money to put gas in the RV, to eat, to pay our bills. And it was like, what are we going to do now? And I remember it was January 2012. I got an email about a Kindle course. And we had already published on Kindle, but I told my husband, this looks like it's kind of the next step. He's like, go for it. See what you want to do with that. I had nothing but time, and we had to figure something out. We couldn't even go back to our house because we'd rented it out. So that year we published 23 books, and publishing became our primary income. We started earning thousands of dollars a month in royalties. And if that wouldn't have happened, now looking back, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, helping others give birth to books, to publish, to market, to grow businesses and ministries. But at the time I was like, what in the world? What is going on? I quit my job to travel and speak, and then there's no speaking engagements. So it's kind of an interesting way of how I got into it. I started in internet marketing in 2004, so have been doing marketing even longer than publishing.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So how did you publish 23 books in that year, in that 1 year?
I had nothing but time. I wasn't working anymore. We needed to be able to earn money. And a lot of those I published first as Kindle books. And so Kindle books, once you develop a system, and that's what I say, my secret sauce is systems. I developed systems and it was repeatable. So I had a team, I had people that were helping me, book cover designers, editors, formatters, and I had a process. So it was like a step-by-step process. And once I had done it multiple times, I could just keep doing it. But my husband says that I'm more the prolific author. He's more the creative author. So I am very prolific in as far as just creating content, but it was just the fact that I had a system and I developed a way and I didn't have to really think about it. I had a checklist. That's what a system basically is, having a checklist. So then you have a checklist and you are able to then go back and you don't have to think about it. So you can get things done a lot quicker. But one of the things that really helped me was I did Kindle book series. So instead of just publishing one really big book, I would publish it in smaller Kindle ebooks as a series. So I have a series called A Life of Gratitude, and I published it first as 3 smaller Kindle ebooks, the 21-day gratitude challenge, 21 stories of gratitude, and 21 prayers of gratitude. So those were 3 smaller Kindle books, and then I published them all together in a big book that I published as print, audiobook, and so forth. And so that's another strategy, is to sometimes break your bigger books into smaller books. Not only are you starting to earn income sooner because you're getting able to publish sooner, but then you have multiple things earning income and diversifying your income in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, it's one thing to have a team and have a checklist, like you said, and to know the process and to have everyone working with you, but someone still has to write those books, right? And so you're obviously really good, like you said, at being a prolific author, prolific writer. What does your writing process look like, and how can people, what are some tips that people can model to help them become more prolific as well?
It's interesting because I came up last year with a writing challenge, and I realized, helping the authors that I do in my coaching program, my membership, Author Audience Academy, that a lot of them were stuck in the writing process. And if you never finish writing your book, you never publish your book. And so I knew there was a problem there that I wanted to help them solve. And what I think the biggest takeaway that I've found since I've been coaching authors since 2010 is everyone is different. What works best for me may not work best for you. What works best for someone else may not work best for other people. So, in my writing challenge, I have people try all different things and track their writing and find what is helping them to write the fastest. For me personally, I do best when I do big chunks of time. So instead of writing every day, which it is really good to get in a habit, I do write every day in some way, whether it's social media post, an email, a sales page, a training, a book. I do writing every day. But as far as writing for books, I do best when I'm in like project mode. So I will set aside an entire day, and I will just go to somewhere, a coffee shop or somewhere, and you can kind of call it going on a writing date. So you put on your calendar, you schedule the time, and you write. And so that for me has really helped me, because once I get into the flow, I can just keep going. Whereas if I have to keep starting, stopping, for me personally, it takes me longer. The other thing that really helps me personally is because I'm a speaker, I'm an extrovert. A lot of writers are not. A lot of writers are introverts. So a lot of writers will not relate to this. But because that's who I am, that's who God has created me to be, I can actually speak my book and have it transcribed and then edit that. And that can really, really speed up the process for me personally. But that doesn't work for everyone. Or dictation. I like to sometimes use dictation. But everyone's process is different. And so that's what, I found, like in writingweek.com, the free challenge I have, 7-day challenges, everyone has a different process and finds a different way that works for them. Some people like to listen to music. Some people don't. Some people work best at home. Some people work best in a coffee shop. Some people work best using the Pomodoro technique. Some people don't, so you just have to find what works best for you. But for me personally, those are a couple things that really help me to get a lot done in a short period of time, is batching my efforts. So basically I'm doing it all at once. You can do that with social media posts. You can do that with any kind of work that you're doing towards your book, is doing the same thing. Like I like to do that with videos, even recording a bunch of videos in one time. I get in the flow and I'm just so much more productive. But the batching, and then for me personally, the speaking my book really helps me.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. So you shared just a lot right there. And like you said, every author's a little bit different. Everyone's unique. Right. They got their own things they like. Some are introverts, some are extroverts. Like for me, writing in a coffee shop is not gonna work.
Right. Right. That doesn't work for you. And so one of the things I really recommend anyone listening right now, try tracking your writing for a period of time, and track, in writingweek.com, you can download my free Writing Week journal. It's PDF, Excel, Word document, so whatever works best for you. But you can just track environment, track time of day, track if whether you're speaking your book or writing your book or typing, track some different things. And then what you'll see is you'll start to see trends. Tom, for you, if you started doing that and then you tracked how many words per minute you were writing and you were in a coffee shop, it would probably go way down. Whereas for me, getting out of my house and away from my distractions here, like in my home office, I get so distracted. I'm like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. Whereas if I'm in a coffee shop, I tend to stay more focused. So everyone will find what the trends that work best for them when you start tracking it.
Definitely. That's a great tip. Track, anything you measure is going to get better.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And not to do it forever and ever. Some of the people that I have worked with, they do want to keep tracking because it motivates them and they like to do that. But for some, it may actually become a hindrance after a while. But if you do it for a short period of time, even for a week or a couple weeks, a month, and just to give yourself insight into you, because that's the thing. You have to find out what works best for you. I can give you tons of strategies and ideas and things to try, but in the end, you have to say, okay, this is working and this isn't. And do what works best for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the first kind of personal development lessons I learned was from Jim Rohn, and he had this awesome audio program called The Art of Exceptional Living. And I'm not sure if this is the one he shared in, but he shared this idea was that, every day, what you would do for a week is just write down what you're doing every 15 minutes, right?
Wow.
So, and every 15 minutes, what I would do is just write down what I was doing. And so if I was like in the flow, if I was writing a book for 2 hours, I wouldn't worry about it until I was done, right? So you don't interrupt yourself. But what that did for me was got really crystal clear on how much time I was wasting on unproductive activities, saying that I was going to grow my business, but then reality was I wasn't spending much time on that, right? And I think that's one of the powerful things about tracking anything is that you get really crystal clear right away. Like you can't lie to yourself anymore. Because it becomes really easy for me, at least, to kind of trick myself into thinking that, I'm writing every day, or, I'm really growing my business, when you look at the actual time spent, you look at the actual words produced, and the numbers aren't meeting what you said you were going to do. And it's easy to keep, stuck in that rut unless you, like you said, you get that method down where you start measuring and tracking and get really crystal clear on what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I like to say numbers don't lie, It's right there. And whether it's a budget, like people who start tracking what they're spending, like what you're saying is tracking your time is brilliant. And anyone who hasn't done that, do it because it's really helpful. But tracking your spending, tracking your calories, if you're trying to lose weight, anytime, like my husband has lost 50 pounds, over 50 pounds. And, there for a season, he would track his calories. And it would help him then to see, like if I want to lose weight, I have to actually like burn less or burn more and eat less. And, whatever you track, like you said, it's just an eye-opening thing. And I think it's hard to do forever, but it is really, really helpful to do for a while.
Definitely. Totally agreed. Yeah. I mean, with that time thing, I actually only did it for like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
I was like, it changed so much and I didn't need to keep doing it, every day for the rest of my life. Although from time to time, I kind of go back to that exercise because it helps you just retune and refine and improve and grow along the way.
Yeah. What was the biggest thing you learned from tracking your time?
At that time, it was like too much time on TV and too much time on the internet.
Those are the two biggest time suckers, or your phone. Now, smartphones.
Yeah. So you mentioned writingweek.com, which is a site is that a site that you own?
Yeah, it's the 7-day nonfiction writing challenge that I've created. Fiction authors can still learn from it and use a lot of the strategies. I personally have, just focused on nonfiction because that's what I write. But it's a free writing challenge and you get tons of stuff. Like I actually give a $27 software called Productivity Coach free just by signing up and getting into the members area. You get all my Writing Week journal downloads. You get over 70 writing affirmations, and those have been really helpful for writers. And so it's just a really great thing if you're just feeling in a funk or you just need a little bit of a boost in your writing. There's tons of resources, tons of things in there for you guys. And yeah, I offer it for free.
That's awesome. And so you have a checklist as well, and like you said, the time tracking or the writing tracking sheets as well.
Yeah. So for the tracking, I find a lot of people offer Excel spreadsheets, but a lot of authors they're not really familiar with Excel or very technical. So I've also had it in PDF that you can print off or in Word that you can just type it into Word instead of having to track on Excel. So whatever format works best for you. And I'm actually working on a print version of my writing journal too. Hopefully that will be launched in the next month or so. But I found that authors are getting so many just great results and it's moving them forward. And it's just so satisfying to be able to help people on that kind of level, because until you have your first draft, you don't have anything, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you're sharing so many of these tools and for free as well. It's really cool because I think that, having the tool is like infinitely more valuable to a lot of people than, going to a week-long seminar, listening to tons and tons of interviews or, training and so forth, because, it's one thing to know it in your head, but until you actually like print out the piece of paper and start tracking your writing and really commit to it, you're not going to, like you said, finish that first draft and really make those changes.
Yeah. And I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm sure you are too, Tom. But what I found is that it's easy to get addicted to learning and to listening. And I love working with action takers. I love doing that. So even on my podcast, I try to include a take action tip. What is one thing that you can take away from that training? Or with my members, I have take action workshops. We actually did one last night, and I'll actually set the timer and I make them do the work right there. So they're not just taking in more information, but they're actually applying it. And I think that is really the key to getting success, is to not just keep taking in more information, but to focus on, what you're doing at that time, not to get, doing a million things, and then to actually do it, like you said, to implement it and to take action. And so that's what I really try to incorporate into my trainings.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about marketing, because I know you've got a lot of awesome marketing strategies that you've used. I know you've got really big platforms and a whole lot of different websites that you own and run as well. So let's talk about your philosophy on marketing. First of all, where do you stand with marketing as an author? Like, where do you put your focus of time, energy, and effort?
I believe in the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your efforts will produce 80% of your results. It's a very common thing that's taught. I'm sure you've taught it as well. But every author has to look and say, what is the 20% that's giving me the biggest results? For every author, it's going to be different. And I love that book, Strength Finders 2.0. Have you heard of that book, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can also like find out, okay, there's a test you can take, or a survey or whatever, and then it tells you kind of what your strengths tend to be. For me, for a long time, I was doing things that I was good at, but they weren't my top strengths. I was sitting behind a computer by myself doing the internet marketing thing, the writing thing. I'm an extrovert. I'm a speaker. I need to get out networking. I'm really good at networking and, live interactions, but I was behind a computer screen. But you may be the opposite. You may be really, really good at writing. And so I think, first of all, knowing like, what is your strength? And how can you apply your strength to your marketing? And then you have to be tracking your marketing so you can then decide, okay, what are the 20% of my activities that are yielding 80% of my results? And so those are, key things. But for me personally, what I have found has been part of my 20% is my email list. So I've been able to grow a subscriber email list in the different genres that I write in. I write for teen girls, I write Christian living, and then I write for authors. I have lists for all of those genres, and I've been able to grow them to thousands of people over time. It says that, we all start at zero, right? We all start with 0 sales, 0 subscribers, 0 fans. We all start somewhere. But for me personally, I have been able to see the biggest results from growing that and nurturing that list, not just always promoting, but sharing stories, being able to build a relationship. So basically, my philosophy with marketing is that it's about a relationship. So whether you're building that relationship through writing, through speaking, through your email list, however, that ends up being, it's a relationship where they're going to know, like, and trust you. And I was talking to someone yesterday online, and they're like, oh, I love writing, I hate marketing. And that's a very typical sentiment from writers. Do you hear that a lot?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so what I say sometimes is, I think we need to transform the way we see marketing. Instead of seeing it like that person with the bullhorn on the corner saying, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. Think of it as inviting someone into your home, into your living room for a cup of coffee to get to know you. So you're inviting them into your home, and it's a much different feel than shouting at someone that isn't really even interested. So once I can get someone to subscribe to my email list, I give them something free. It's like, you give someone a cup of coffee for coming over to your house, something for free, and you give them your time and a relationship. So somebody gets a free gift from me, they sign up to my list, they've given me then permission, it's permission marketing, to contact them again, to follow up with them, and to build a relationship with them. They've shown me, they've raised their hand, said, Shelley, I'm interested in something that you have to offer. They can always unsubscribe at any time. But that's kind of the approach I like to to really, help authors to see it. I think so many authors just feel like that person shouting, please buy my book, and that desperate feeling like I have to get sales, instead of realizing more the relationship marketing part of it and permission marketing, whether it's through social media, your email list, other ways. And I've just found that to be so much more effective.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, you just shared so much in a very short period of time. So I kind of want to recap a little bit. So first you talked about strengths, right?
Right.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I think, when it comes to marketing, you really need to focus on your strengths, especially today. I mean, there's so many things. There's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's Pinterest, there's LinkedIn. Like, there's so many ways that you could spend so much time, quote unquote, marketing and promoting your book. But is it really, like you said, is it building those long-term relationships that are actually going to lead to long-term sales and success in business? And a lot of times it's not if you're not using your strengths, right?
Right. Yeah. And the person I was talking to yesterday was, like, their strength is writing. And I totally get that. So for, those of you that are listening, if your strength is writing, why not consider writing a book that you put perma-free on Amazon? And that perma-free book then markets for you 24/7. I have several books right now that are perma-free on Amazon. One of my books, Self-Publishing Books 101, is perma-free on Amazon. It gets almost 1,000 new downloads every month. It funnels people into my email list from Amazon. They're searching for the term self-publishing books. That's why I titled it that way. It was a keyword, that people are searching for on Amazon, and they find me that way. So if your strength is writing, don't feel like you have to be doing all this crazy social media stuff. I mean, you should still use your gift in writing for writing posts on social media, but maybe a perma-free book is the thing that can really funnel people then to buy your next book in the series, or to sign up to your email list, or something like that. So sometimes we just make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Totally agree. Yeah. When I first started in business, I thought, how can I do what, that's successful how can I do what Shelley's doing? Right.
Right.
And now it's totally different the way I look at my business is, okay, how can I use my strengths
Yes.
and the strengths and resources of the team and of people around me to, create this goal or this vision of whatever the goal is, wherever we're going. But it's all focused on what are the strengths, like what are the resources that we have? Because for me, it's not, spending 3 hours a day on Twitter. That's not my strength by any means, right?
Right.
And so I still use it. And but when it comes to actually, getting work done every day and moving my business forward, it's all about focusing on my strengths. And that's one of the biggest things I try to teach my clients and students as well. Because if you mess that part up, not only is it going to be really tough to be successful, but it's going to be really hard to actually enjoy, your
exactly. Career. You're going to dread it. And that's what I tell people. If you dread marketing, you're not going to do it. But if you're able to really focus in on what are the things that I'm good at, what are my strengths, what can I do? And honestly, every business owner, every homeowner, every person, whether you have a regular job job or you have your own business, there are going to be things you don't want to do. Let's just face it, right? We're always going to have things that we just have to do, but then there's going to be other things that we are really good at, we really enjoy, we love doing. And so when you really identify those things and you spend more time doing the things you really enjoy, you're really good at, then you are going to, like you said, continue to move forward. It won't be that dread and like, I just don't want to do that. And so yeah, it is important to still stretch yourself sometimes and do those things that aren't your strengths or don't come naturally. But a lot of those things you can outsource. A lot of those things you can, you don't even need to do a lot of the marketing stuff. It's an 80-20 rule. Like 20% can bring 80% of your results. So a lot of that stuff you can just let go of and give yourself permission to say, I don't have to be on social media every day, or I can just be on one platform or two platforms. I don't have to do everything. And it's a relief. It's a real, and I know when I started to really hone in on my strengths, that's when my business really started to even grow to the next level.
Definitely. Yeah, totally agree with that. That's great. And so the next thing you talked about was, transforming the way you look at marketing, right? And I love your analogy of, inviting people into your home to learn more. I think that's what it's all about. For me, marketing is just about education, right? Like if someone knows enough about, your products or your services or your book, Shelley, like they're going to buy it because if it's something that they need, if it solves a problem that they have and they know enough about it, they're just naturally going to buy it. So the question for me is always not like, how can I just promote more? It's how can I, educate, share my message with more people in a way that's really going to connect with them and help them make a difference in their life. And, I think transforming the way you look at marketing definitely can help you get over a lot of that emotional resistance a lot of people have to sales and promotions and so forth.
Yeah. And, someone told me this last year when I was really just tweaking my branding, and it really made sense to me. They said that they're going to be like, for example, Tom, you and I probably do some of the similar things, but there's going to be certain people that are just attracted to you and the way you teach, the way you do things. There's going to be people that are attracted to me. And so what they said was, it's like we're a magnet. And what we want to do is we want to share in a way that highlights the things that would draw people to us for who we are, for our strengths, for what we have to offer, the educating part, and then there's going to be another side that will repel certain people away, and so there's going to be certain things that will attract the right person and repel the wrong person. And I think sometimes we're too afraid to differentiate ourselves and to truly let our personality come through, our, strength, just like who we are and into our branding. And I think that can really help actually, though, when we put more of us into our branding, share more stories, share more, as you're comfortable. You don't have to share everything, but, share things in a way that like, I'm a coffee lover. I love mountains. I love outdoors. I'm a Christian. And so, there's certain people, like I was on the phone with someone yesterday and they said, Shelley, I've looked at a lot of programs, but I want to sign up for yours because of the way you do things. And also I think because, she's a Christian and she, responds to that in me. And so there's so many ways that you can differentiate yourself by just being you and who you are. And that will draw the people to you. But I love teaching, educating. I think that's such a great point, that marketing is a lot about just teaching and educating people on what your topic is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So I know you also talk a lot about like evergreen marketing, and I know some of the strategies you shared already, like, publishing your book perma-free on Amazon is definitely an evergreen marketing strategy. So those people who are new to that term evergreen marketing, and maybe people who have been around for a while, first of all, what is it? And then how do you actually use that to grow your business long-term?
I love evergreen marketing because what evergreen marketing is you do the work once and then it continues to work for you ongoing. So instead of just having like the book launch or a BookBub paid promotion that gives you that spurt of sales and things, you actually produce results that are going to, things that are going to help more long-term. Now, I love the big boosts. I'm preparing for a book launch next week and I love that, and a BookBub paid promotion is awesome. You get, big burst, but you can't sustain that. And so the evergreen marketing are things like the email list. So I recommend signing up for an email provider that allows you to do autoresponders. I know a lot of authors will start with the free MailChimp account, and that's great if that's where you need to start. But the drawback to a free MailChimp account is they do not allow you to do autoresponders. You just do the broadcasts. And so with an autoresponder, what you can do is you can write an evergreen email. That's evergreen just means that it will not go out of style, or like it's not based on current events. It's not a special promotion where the price is going to change. It's something that if somebody reads that same email next year at this time, it's going to mean the same thing that it would mean today. And so, if you can write a few of those evergreen email autoresponder messages, schedule them into your email provider, maybe like once a week, doesn't have to be forever. And then what they do is then every new person that signs up to your email list gets those messages, what I like to call auto magically. They just send it out. And instead of you having to sit there because when I talk about email marketing, the thing I get from authors is like, oh, Shelley, I don't want to do a newsletter every week or every month. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Well, guess what? You don't have to do a newsletter type of email. I just send text emails and I send out value. So there are a couple blog posts that I have that are really valuable. And what I'll do is I'll talk about those in an email and give the link, or you can even just copy and paste the whole post if you want, and then you can schedule that. So that's just one option of an evergreen marketing. Another option is just evergreen tweets and posts. I love this. Somebody gave me this advice early on when I became an author, and I'm so glad they did. Right now, I have over 20 pages of tweets for my books that I've written. How did I get 20 pages of tweets? By writing one tweet at a time. And I just have a Word document. And as I, write a new tweet for my books, or something that it's not a promotional thing, maybe it has a review snippet, or maybe it's a quote from the book, or maybe it's just something else, I'll save that in this document. And then I can reuse those tweets and posts later. A tool that I've recently found that I am loving is Post Planner. It's not a free tool, but if your primary social media is Facebook or Twitter, this is an amazing tool. And what it lets me do is it lets me schedule recurring tweets or recurring Facebook posts. So what I've been doing is I post inspirational quotes. That's part of my branding. Is I'm an encourager, I'm inspiration, I like to share inspiration. And so I share one of those in a quote image just about every day. And so what I've been doing is scheduling those to recur every 24 months. So once I have 2 years worth of quotes in there, it'll just keep going. And will people really remember that I posted that 2 years ago? Probably not. So you could do that. Like I'm doing that with my podcasts. I'm creating evergreen tweets and posts, and then I have them recur like every 3 months or something like that, so that it keeps getting my content back out in front of my audience. But I write it once, I schedule it once, and it's done. And it just keeps going out. Now, you don't want to annoy your followers by doing it too often, like having it every day or every other day, and Twitter doesn't allow duplicate content, all the time. So you don't want to get in trouble with your account. But, if you're doing it in a respectful, way, and it's great content, and then what you can do is you can look back and say, no one really responded to this Facebook post anyway, so I'm just going to remove it from the queue. I'm just going to delete it, and it's not going to keep going out. Like, you can see which ones they respond to, which ones they don't, and tweak it from there. But I love that. You do the work once, and then it keeps working for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, Zig Ziglar said, motivation is like a bath. You need one every day, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. So, if you're sharing inspirational stuff on Facebook and Twitter, having go out every 2 years, I think that's actually a good thing, because you're like reminding, your audience and yourself of, these awesome inspirational things that, because, you might have seen a quote 2 years ago on Facebook, but it doesn't mean you wouldn't be happy to see it again and, get new insights from it and so forth. So, yeah, I totally agree with, the value in that, of saving yourself a ton of time and adding a lot of value to your audience as well.
Yeah. And then, I still recommend going on to social media and interacting with people. So not just having everything automated, like, and when you talk about automating things, some people are like, "Oh, I don't like that. That feels spammy." It's still you. You're still writing it. It's basically scheduling. You're scheduling the emails, you're scheduling these posts. It's still you, it's still who you are, it's still your personality, it's still you connecting with people. And then you can go on at a certain time and just, reply to people and check in, but you're not having to sit in front of your computer all the time doing marketing. It frees you up to do more of what you love to do. Maybe it's writing, or maybe it's something else. But there's so many different ways you can do evergreen marketing. You can do it with blog posts, you can do it with videos, podcasts, webinars, and even like this interview that I do with you. A lot of what we're talking about is evergreen. It's still going to help authors a year from now. So, I can continue to promote like guest interviews and podcasts and things that I've done. And so there's so many ways to use it, but just another real quick example. I know a lot of authors aren't speakers, but webinars have been really powerful for me to bring people into my paid program and membership. And I have a webinar on marketing your book on Amazon. 7 things you can do for free to get more exposure and sales. What I did is I recorded the webinar, and now I promote it through those recurring tweets and posts on Facebook and Twitter, and people can sign up. They get instant access, at least the way I have it set up right now, to that recording. They can ask me questions through a contact form, but they can watch it. Well, the person that I talked to yesterday that just signed up for my membership watched that webinar. And guess what? I wasn't doing anything. It was an evergreen marketing technique. I set it up once and it continues to work for me ongoing, and it builds those relationships. It's still me teaching. It's still good content. It's stuff that you can apply right away, but I didn't do anything. And, she signed up and wanted to join my paid program then. And so that's just another example of, and it's not necessarily with books, more with, paid programs and products, but just another example of just doing something one time that continues to market for you. And so I just love to get authors thinking in that way. What are things you can do that free you up to do other things?
Totally. Yeah, that's great. And that's, for me, it's not something that's been crucial for me to, to grow my business, to sell more books, and to be just really happy in my life and my work. Because if I had to do, the same webinar presentation every week or even every month or even every year, I just get bored with it.
Yeah.
And so, being able to create something one time and then find ways to repeatedly share that value with other people and with your evergreen marketing is just, I think it's crucial, honestly. Like, if you want to be successful today on the internet, you want to sell online, if you're not using evergreen marketing strategies, if you're just, every day you have to log into Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and do everything, one time and add something new, if you don't have some kind of systems working for you, there's no way you can keep up with the competition.
Right. Yeah. And, systems are key. Scheduling, being able to use tools. And that's what's amazing in the day and age we live. There's new tools coming out all the time to help us do what we do. And I actually don't mind paying a little bit. It's almost like when I pay Post Planner, a few dollars a month or whatever, it's like, $5 or $7 a month. It's like I'm paying an assistant to send those things out for me. Or if you're on Hootsuite, and you schedule your post, it's like you're paying an assistant to, post those at the right time. Or if you have an autoresponder system with, I use GetResponse right now, there's all kinds of Aweber, different ones that you can use, but it's almost like, instead of having to pay someone to do it for me, I'm paying a tool a lot less than I'd have to pay a person, and they're able, that tool is able to do it for me. So I think sometimes authors have a limited mindset when it comes to investing in tools and investing in their business. But I really saw my business grow when I got past that mindset and realized I can only do so much. I have to duplicate myself in some way. And tools like this are the very best way to start. An autoresponder system, a way to schedule social media. Those are really, really good ways to get started. And then as you go, you can even do more outsourcing as your business grows, as you sell more books. But we have a limited time, right? We all have the same 24 hours a day.
Totally. Yeah. I love that you just share that, because I hear this all the time from authors, from bloggers, from online marketers, complaining about, the fees of, autoresponders and, different tools and software that can really help you grow your business. Like Lead Pages is like $67 a month, I think, for like the premium option that I recommend. And, for me, I look at that and it's like, okay, I can either use this software for $67 a month, or I could pay someone thousands of dollars to create my websites for me. Which one makes more sense? Well, it's obvious that the tool is just more valuable. Same thing with, Aweber. It's $100 a month for me because my list is so big. But it's like, if I had to pay an assistant to send out all those emails for me, first of all, they'd probably mess it all up. And secondly,
right.
It's astronomically expensive to do that. And so, obviously, there are times when I've purchased tools and stuff that, wasn't the right fit, maybe wasn't wasting money because it didn't work the way I wanted to. But In the long run, when you find those tools that really work well for you, it's invaluable to your business. And so, I think having that mindset that, okay, it's okay if I lose a little bit of money because I made a mistake, because when you find the right tool, it's going to pay you back 10, 100 times or more. So
yeah, and thinking more long term instead of just short term. So investing some of your profits back into your business, but also in the beginning, I had to lose some money in the beginning. Not forever, but and not necessarily losing money, but it was a slow process of building that email list, of being able to get to that place. But my husband and I don't believe in debt. We've been in like $150,000 of debt and have paid it off. And so I honestly don't trust myself. And so we don't do something unless we can afford it. So I understand bootstrapping. I understand having limited budgets, but reinvest your profits into your business. And as it grows, I didn't purchase lead pages until a little bit over a year ago, because I wasn't at the place that my business could afford that extra fee. But once I was able to do that, and it was a stretch, oh, wow, it does so much. That tool does so much. So you don't have to sign up for that right now, but don't be afraid to invest into your business, because that's what's really going to help multiply and grow your business. And you can grow slow, or you can grow fast. It depends on what funds you have to invest. If you're working another job, you can invest some money there, into your business as it grows. But I love to encourage authors to definitely at least invest in an email subscriber system that has autoresponders at the very least.
Yeah, totally agree with that. That's great. Well, Shelley, you shared an awesome amount of information with us today. Honestly, this is one, I've taken so many notes during this interview. So, I know you shared tons of gold. It's really valuable for me, and I hope it's really valuable for everyone listening as well. So before you go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
My main website is shelleyhitz.com, and it's spelled SHELLEYHITZ.com. I say my last name Hitz. It's kind of like a Ritz cracker with an H. And that's where you can find me. You can find me at Shelley Hitz on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, wherever you're at. I am on all the platforms just because I teach marketing. My main platforms that I spend the most time are Facebook and Twitter. I'm also on Periscope, and you can find me so many different ways. But wherever you hang out, look for me as Shelley Hitz, and you'll probably find me there.
Great. Thanks so much for being here, Shelley. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. And I just hope everyone found at least one thing that they can apply. And, just think about one tip that we shared in this interview that you can then apply towards your writing or your marketing, and then go do it. It's about taking action and taking that next step. So thank you so much for having me, Tom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take action, look over your notes from this interview, and find that one thing you want to do and do it right away. All right. Thanks, Shelley. Really appreciate you having you here.